This is Daniel Casado with Colorado MMA News, and today I'm joined by Ryan Solsbery of Elevation Fight Team, fresh off of his first round armbar submission victory at Sparta Wyoming III in his MMA debut. So Ryan, how do you feel here about 2 days after that big fight for you?
I feel great. Very accomplished, very tired, but it was a great feeling. Glad I did it.
Long training camp, and emotionally, it's very tolling, and maybe something that people don't see from the outside, especially if they haven't fought before. But your first MMA fight, all the build-up, the fact that you're telling people about it alone, it builds this anxiety and anticipation for the event, and the waiting beforehand just makes it even worse. But now that you're on the other side of that, kind of that sense of relief, that weight lifted off your shoulders, and a victory. I mean, there's no better way to win your debut, and especially in the first round. So did you think going into that fight that you were going to have an advantage on the ground? Was that part of your strategy?
Yeah, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a minute. I'm a purple belt under Christian Allen. I'm really comfortable on the floor standing up. It was really wherever it was going to go. I thought I'd be a lot more comfortable on the feet than him, but he came out really hard, really early, which we were kind of expecting, and we just kind of collided and got into that close range. So wherever it went, it went.
Cool. So you were prepared for a fight to be on the feet, but you felt that he closed that distance, gave you the opportunity for the ground game to play, and you're comfortable there. Obviously, as a purple belt, first MMA fight, I mean, that's going to be a higher level of comfort on the ground than most people, I'd say, at this point in their careers.
Yeah, I just figured why not. Our plan was just wherever the fight goes, be reactionary and just flow with it. Don't try to necessarily force it to go any one way or the other. You can't really control that.
Right. And, something that many MMA fighters, I'm sure, try to do, just go with the flow. But specifically, you train at High Altitude Martial Arts. That's your home gym. Also work with Elevation Fight Team, kind of the parent team there. But Altitude Martial Arts, that's the style, I'd say. If there's any style there, it's that flow, and comes down from Christian Allen, like you said, as the head coach, but Corey Sandhagen over there, and a lot of the young guys that are up and coming with that flowing style. So who did you have in your corner for the fight, and who were you training with leading up to this?
Oh, yeah. I told my coaches years ago that if I was going to do an MMA fight, it had to be Corey Sandhagen, Christian Allen, and I was so happy to nab both of those two guys for the fight itself. As far as who I was training with, Sam Gaffney at High Altitude, Chris DeLuca, a bunch leading up to it. I got in some good rounds with Corey himself at Elevation. Justin Wetzel, who's going to fight in LFA here in a second. I hear 11 days notice. Evan Arredondo, and I'm sure a billion other people I'm forgetting.
And that's the benefit of training at a gym like Altitude and a team like Elevation. I mean, those are all guys that are knocking on the door of pros, if not already pro, working their way up the pro rankings. So awesome gym to be able to train with, an awesome team to have around you and support you in your first fight. So now that you had your MMA debut, it went successfully. Not everyone can say that, but yours went very well, first round submission victory. So, how do you feel about MMA in general as a pursuit? Is this something that you want to continue, and where does it go from here?
I talked to some of my coaches. It's an interesting thing where to me, it's the trade-off of chasing something you want to do and you're passionate about that has its own rewards and it's going to reap benefits. The trade-off being you're going to take head damage, basically. Sure. Like the hard work you can put in, the suffering, the pain you can put in, but potential brain damage, which has pretty grave consequences at times down the road for people. And, I trained for 2 months. I fought for 2 minutes. I got hit twice in the fight. I don't have a mark on me, but I certainly got punched a decent amount of times throughout the camp, Yeah. Took some damage as these things happen. So that's really the trade-off. I expect I'll do quite a few more, see where it takes me, as long as everything's holding up. I'm trying to train smart instead of just training hard and approach it the right way. Yeah, I expect to do quite a few more.
Yeah, and that's good self-awareness. I mean, it's a reality that you have to face as a fighter, and something that you have to come to terms with entering into competition. So it sounds like you're kind of see where your career can take you. And from my perspective, at least from what you're saying, it sounds like barring injury, take it as far as you can.
Yeah, I want to fulfill potential.
Right.
I think a lot of people kind of limit themselves. Personally, I try to be really careful with the words I use. And you see a lot of it in fighting. A lot of the times in post-fight interviews, you hear them call their opponent the better man if they lost, and just little stuff like that. And some people might call me like anal about it or just overly picky. but certain words like that, like can't or never, how you speak about yourself or your reality as a whole, you can just kind of limit it. Like somebody asked me, like, do you want to go to the UFC? Do you think you can? And I'm like, yeah, I think I can. I don't think I can't. Nothing's really stopping me. I'm in the right place. I'm around the right people. If I pursue it, it's just like I was mentioning previously, that weighing of pros and cons, and the price that's going to come with doing all that.
Absolutely. And you spoke about it prior to this interview with me, but this general idea of a greater pursuit of trying to reach your potential, and that's truly what a martial artist pursuit is, or at least for most people. Yes, some people might get into it because they want to be a fighter, but more often than not, it's more this idea of trying to push yourself, trying to test yourself, and put yourself in an uncomfortable situation to see if you respond the way that you expect to and the way that you want to, and training so that you hopefully do respond that way. And then reaching that potential, whatever that is. And for different people, that might be different things, and get you to different points in your career if it's, MMA in which the competition is taking place. But it sounds to me like you take that true martial artist pursuit of trying to reach that idea of your potential, and if that means going to the UFC and that's where your career develops and your passion develops, then more power to you. And if not, then life's a lifestyle of martial arts is fulfilling in and of itself. Is that a fair assessment or summary of what you're saying?
Yeah, spot on, mate. Spot on. I think whether I'd be competing or not, I'd still be doing the same thing. I love teaching. We got a great kids program at high altitude. Me and my twin brother Robin actually get to run, which is amazing. I think we had up to like 90 kids at one point pre-COVID. Wow. Getting to give back a little bit, and then obviously teaching adults and just coaching people. I'm an MMA nerd. Like everyone's a nerd about something, whether it's a car or comic books or something. I've watched so many just pride fights, and like the UFC Fight Pass is practically my Netflix at this point.
Yep.
So it's a lifestyle for sure.
Absolutely. So leaving the cage, I mean, what does that feel like? What does it feel like you said, training for years for this moment, maybe not for a fight specifically, but putting in that time, going through the fight camp for 2 months, having this idea, this event on the horizon, accomplishing the goal. What does it feel like when you're walking out of the cage and you're walking home and you're on the drive home and you're sitting there thinking about it? What are you thinking about?
Right. Yeah. A brother very early on turned us on to the sport when I was probably like 15, really the first one to sit us down and kind of showcase what it was. And I think once I kind of fell in love with it, then around that time, I promised myself I'd do at least one. So it felt really good to kind of scratch that itch on my psyche that I've had for so many years to fulfill that promise and that idea that was planted so long ago to at least do it. It took a second to kick in too. I think 20 seconds after I won, I was walking around still just like dead face, like no emotion, just like in the moment. And then I was like, oh yeah, I can chill. I won. It's over.
Very cool. So what was the first thing you ate after the fight? First of your choice, like that you get to actually enjoy.
I think the first thing I ingested was a shot that somebody gave me. I didn't really want to drink much, but a lot of people pushing a lot of drinks in my face. Took a shot, got some victory nachos in, ordered a pizza. I hadn't eaten cheese in like too much, and like 2 months, not a bite of cheese, like no bread. Oh, I love cheese so much.
Me too. Bread and cheese. It's a tough one. Very nice. And then as far as what you want next, I mean, it's a little soon after, just 2 days after, but are you thinking about when you want to get back in the gym? What does that look like for you?
Oh, I'll be in the gym tonight.
Cool.
Teaching some classes, probably train a little bit as well. As far as the next fight, I'm not really banged up, minor training camp injury, so I could fight really soon if I wanted to. That'll be something we can discuss with coaches and see about.
Cool. And that's kind of how you make the decision. You feel like, hey, I could fight, talk to the coaches about it, see their thoughts, and go from there.
Yeah, I have a tremendous amount of faith in them and just the people we have in there, so that'd be the way to go for sure.
Very nice. So obviously got to eat the cheese and bread, but how else did you celebrate your victory, your first MMA fight win?
Plenty of calls. I wanted to try to like prank my parents and call them because they didn't watch it and be like, like he was really tough when they asked me like how it went and just like drag it out a little bit. Yep. But it was great hanging out with family and friends that drove up and just hanging out till like 3 o'clock in the morning and it's still running through my head. Like it's hard not to try to relive that moment
Oh
a
yeah.
few more.
I'm sure getting high off life, man, it's a good feeling. It's a cool thing to accomplish, and not everyone gets to step into that arena. So the fact that you did alone is awesome and commendable. And coming out with the first round submission win, like I said, can't really get better than that. So how can people, fans that want to follow your career and kind of see what's next, how can they follow you online?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Instagram is that Solsboy. On Facebook as well. And if you really want to see me, come by the gym, high altitude. I'll be there all week.
Cool. So go give him a follow, follow his career online, go check out his classes, and give us a follow too. Colorado MMA News and the prize fighting business everywhere.
That's
And Ryan,
right. Before I let you go, I know you guys run a pretty tight shift, but if you ever need someone else jump in on some interviews or to join the crew, I'd love to get involved in something like this.
we're always looking for people that are passionate about MMA. So absolutely, man, we'll talk more. But Ryan, I appreciate your time and thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
You got it. Appreciate you guys. Great content.